From the moment Zuri stepped into Uncle Kwame's compound in Kumasi, her spirit trembled. Something inside her knew that her world would never be the same again. She felt it in her bones, like a cold wind brushing her soul. Everything was about to shift. She could sense that living under Uncle Kwame's roof would carve scars in her life that may never heal. But what choice did she have? Kwame was the only relative left, her final string of hope in a world that had already swallowed her laughter. It all began on a Saturday morning. Baba Jabari and his wife, along with their eldest son Sefu, had been invited to a baby naming celebration in the neighboring village of Mampong, just a few miles from their quiet home in Adenta. Even as her mother Ama prepared her to stay back and tend to their market stall, Zuri cried and pleaded with them not to go. "Let's go together," she begged, but they dismissed her fears, thinking she was only upset because she'd been asked to stay behind. But that wasn't it. Zuri had always seen glimpses, moments of warning in her dreams, flashes of what was about to unfold. She had told them, but they never believed her. Her mother had brushed it off with the same laugh she used when Zuri claimed she dreamt of floods before the rains came. But Zuri had seen the accident. She had seen the dark river swallow her family. And when Baba Jabari drove away with his wife and son, Zuri wept, screaming to the skies for the gods to change her vision. But fate had already sealed its drum. Barely 30 minutes into the journey, a truck lost control on the winding road, and in one deafening moment of metal and dust, it crushed her father's car. Not a single soul survived. 3 bodies, 1 broken girl. As they brought the bodies home wrapped in white cloth, Zuri clung to the air, crying out names that would never answer again. Baba, Mama, Sefu. You promised me school, you promised medicine college. How could you leave me? The compound filled with grief. Relatives and neighbors wailed in disbelief. How could a whole family vanish in a single morning? After the burial and the final prayers beneath the mango tree, Zuri had no home left. She was to leave with Uncle Kwame to start a new life in the capital, Tamale. Alone in a house too silent to bear, she packed her few clothes into a tattered bag. But the journey was delayed. Kwame told her he needed to sell the house, the market stall, and the old blue car. He promised to open a bank account in her name and said she would gain access once she turned 18. "You are still young," he said gently. "You can't handle such matters now." Zuri never saw the papers, never followed him to the bank. She only trusted that her father's brother would never betray her. On the eve of their departure, reality pressed on her chest like a boulder. "Oh gods," she whispered into the night, "why take my whole family and leave me behind?" The stories about Kwame haunted her. Though rich, he remained single at 45. It was whispered that he had once been arrested for violating a young girl in his old neighborhood. Her late father had intervened to free him. Could it be true? As dawn broke, she sat quietly in the front seat of his polished SUV, her lips moving in silent prayer. "Mama, Baba, if you have truly gone to the spirit world, do not turn your back on me. Watch over me. Let no evil touch me." Kwame glanced at her and smiled. "Zuri, my daughter, you are safe now. You are mine to protect. May the gods strike me down if I ever harm you." His eyes shimmered with emotion, but Zuri's heart remained wary. If he truly was so kind, why did he have such a dark past? Was it a lie? She shook the thought away. There was no one else. Arriving in Tamale, she stepped into a large, modern house. Kwame beamed with pride. "This is your new home. Keep your bag in my room. We'll stay there together. You are my daughter now." Zuri hesitated. "Uncle, can I sleep in another room? There are others here." Kwame smiled. "Still the same house. I can check on you." Let me show you your room." That night, curled on a thin mattress in the unfamiliar room, fear wrapped itself around Zuri. What were his real intentions? Why did he want her in his room? Her body trembled. She considered running. But where would she go? She knew no one. In this vast, unfamiliar city, her only comfort was the sky above, where she imagined her parents watching. As promised, Kwame enrolled her in a nearby secondary school so she could prepare for university. Slowly, Zuri settled into her new routine. She started to feel safer, maybe even believed that things might be okay. But in her heart, she never let her guard fall. At first, Zuri blamed herself for ever doubting Uncle Kwame's kindness, thinking perhaps her fear was misplaced. After all, he checked on her each night, asked if she needed anything, and spoke like a caring guardian. She stopped locking her door, believing his concern was genuine. But one night, as silence cloaked the house and Zuri slept deeply after a long day at school, the truth revealed itself. A darkness she had never imagined crossed the line between protection and betrayal. That night shattered her. What happened left her in silence, unable to cry, her soul bruised in ways no eyes could see. In the morning she could barely stand. Her spirit was heavy, her eyes swollen, her voice lost in a storm of pain. When Kwame pretended nothing had happened and even took her shopping, forcing smiles and false kindness, Zuri only stared in disbelief. He tried to bury her pain under gifts and promises, but nothing could hide the truth. When they returned, he continued crossing boundaries, testing how far his wickedness could go. The days grew darker, nights heavier. It became a pattern, his manipulation wrapped in threats and deceit, using control and silence as weapons. Zuri stopped pleading. She stopped crying. A fire began to burn where only fear had lived. One night, after another horror, he left in his usual arrogance, but this time Zuri stood up, trembling not from fear, but from rage. Her eyes scanned the room, and there it was, his carelessness leaving behind a tool she could use. She picked it up. Her heart thudded like a war drum. With shaking hands and burning eyes, she walked to his room, knocked once, then stood tall. When Kwame opened the door, his face went pale. "Sit down," she said, her voice calm but deadly. "You made a promise. You said if you ever harmed me, may the spirits strike you. It's time they answer." For a moment the predator became the prey. But as she struggled to act, he lunged, disarmed her, and lashed out in anger. That night, her body may have been tied, but her will was unbroken. The next day, while he left for work, she sat in the stillness of the room, lifted her hands toward the heavens, and prayed like never before. "God, you're not asleep. You heard him swear by your name. You saw what he did. I ask not for pity, but for justice. If you are with me, destroy him." That evening, as the rain began to fall, and clouds grew thick over Tamale, Kwame left work early, rushing home. But this time, the winds of justice were already stirring. Kwame rushed out of his office like always, determined to reach home before the rain began. But this time, something changed. As he placed his hands on his car door, the sky rumbled. With a fury that had no name, a violent crack of thunder struck so loudly it shook the foundation of his office building, and in front of stunned colleagues, a blinding flash threw Kwame to the ground. It was a scene no one had ever witnessed. Lightning inside a car park. He was unconscious, lifeless, crumpled like a fallen leaf. Panic spread. He was rushed to a nearby clinic and remained in a coma for a full week. When Zuri received the news, she knelt on the floor, tears streaming down her face, not from sorrow but from trembling thanks. "You heard me, God," she whispered. "You remembered your justice." She knew this was only the beginning. When Kwame finally opened his eyes, he didn't recognize anyone, not even Zuri. His mind wandered in confusion. Weeks passed. Slowly, memory returned, and with it, guilt. One morning, he requested to see her. As she entered the hospital room, he broke into tears. Zuri, I wronged you. Please forgive me. Let me die in peace. It wasn't me. I was not myself, he begged. But Zuri stood in silence, her breath steady. She watched the man who had once stolen her voice now beg for mercy. You don't deserve peace, she finally said. You destroyed me. This is your beginning, not your end. With that, she turned and left, her heart heavy but firm. Kwame's lawyer followed her, pleading. She took his card but said nothing. The next day, she met with the lawyer and began the process to reclaim her parents' stolen assets. Kwame had confessed he never opened any bank account for her and had taken everything. Now he authorized the return of 80 million cedis. Zuri used it to move back to Accra, enroll in school, and begin preparing for her university exams. Meanwhile, Kwame's health continued to crumble. His colleagues stopped visiting. He was alone. But his true torment wasn't his illness. It was the voice in his head, echoing his own crimes, day and night. The guilt was unrelenting. One day, he asked the nurse to bring a doctor and a visitor. He had something to say. As the nurse, who loved recording content, leaned in, Kwame confessed everything. Word for word, the truth spilled from his lips, horrific, shameful, haunting. The video, later shared online, went viral. People were stunned, not just by the confessions, but by how real and raw they were. After his physical recovery, Kwame's reputation was in ashes. A national outcry followed. Advocacy groups demanded justice. Though Zuri remained quiet, she confirmed her story to the authorities, requesting anonymity to avoid distraction from school. They respected her wishes, ensured her protection, and took Kwame to court. The day of the trial, he saw Zuri again and erupted in anger, spewing vile words that proved once and for all he had not changed. The police held him back. The judge showed no mercy. Kwame was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Zuri, though shaken, stood tall. She enrolled in therapy. Healing was slow, but she clung to it like a warrior with a broken sword. She turned her pain into fire and poured it into her books. Years passed. She graduated top of her class in robotics engineering. At the University of Accra, the best in her faculty. Yet scars remained. She found it hard to trust men, hard to believe in promises, but she was alive, she was free. She had turned a curse into a crown, and no one would ever take that from her again. Zuri poured herself into her dreams. At just 25, she partnered with the Ashanti regional government and launched the first robotics and artificial intelligence innovation center in Ghana, right in the heart of Accra. What began as a bold vision quickly became a continental marvel. The center trained hundreds of young talents, built AI solutions for learning, and created robotic systems that solved problems previously believed impossible. Despite all her success, Zuri kept her personal life locked away. She declined every proposal, from tech giants to wealthy politicians. Even her closest friend, Amma, often nudged her to open her heart. But Zuri would only smile and say, "I'm not ready to stand under another man's shadow. Not yet." Then one evening at their usual hangout, a rooftop lounge bathed in gold. "Light," Zuri said softly. "Amma, you're my sister, and I need your truth." Amma leaned in, curious. "David, one of our engineers. He's gentle, brilliant, and for a long time I've felt something. He sent a message recently confessing his love. I had felt it too, but I'm unsure. I'm the CEO, he works for me. What will people say?" Amma took her hand and smiled. "Zuri, the world already knows your strength. You deserve love. David is a good man, kind, honest. Give him a chance." The next day, Zuri invited David to dinner at a serene botanical restaurant. There was no need for games. She told him, clear and honest, "I've watched you. I admire you. But if this will be real, I need one promise. You will never raise your hand or voice to me. David didn't hesitate. You will always be safe with me. The next day, David called Amma. He was ready to propose. She helped him plan the perfect moment. That weekend, Zuri arrived at a private art gallery. David knelt before her, his hands shaking, his eyes full of hope. Will you be my home, Zuri? She smiled through tears, knelt beside him, kissed him, and said yes. They laughed on the way home, dreaming about their wedding and the children they'd raise. Amma teased them. Don't forget I'm still single. Treat me like a queen at your wedding. But joy soon turned to terror. David, distracted by laughter, missed a vehicle swerving ahead. The crash was sudden, brutal. Their car flipped into a roadside ditch. Blood and silence followed. They were rushed to the hospital. Zuri was barely breathing. When medics learned who she was, emergency arrangements were made. Within hours, she, David, and Amma were flown to the US for urgent treatment. Their injuries were critical, severe. Head trauma, potential brain damage. Doctors were unsure, but fate wasn't done with them. 2 months later, the three returned to Accra, alive, reborn. Zuri and David resumed wedding plans. Their celebration became the most anticipated event of the year. A fusion of technology and tradition, it brought together dignitaries from across Africa. In the same week, behind cold walls, Kwame sat in prison, forgotten and broken. Fellow inmates tormented him. Guilt consumed him. One night, with trembling hands, he took a smuggled blade and ended his story. When Zuri heard, she felt nothing. No pity, no sadness, just silence. She whispered, "Let justice bury him. I'm too alive for grief." Surrounded by love, healing, and purpose, Zuri stood tall, no longer a victim but a symbol of resilience. Her past did not define her. Her voice did, and the world was finally listening.